Hey guys, welcome back to IP Unsolved, where I, IP, tell my friend Vami about the mysterious unsolved cases of the world. Let's get into it. Born April 1564 in Stratford upon Avon, England, John and Mary Shakespeare had their eighth child, a boy by the name of William. William Shakespeare was a poet, playwright, and actor, considered the greatest English writer in the entire world, writing famous plays like Romeo and Juliet and Hamlet, to name a few. Did Shakespeare really exist? Or was he just a random guy found on the streets of Stratford? Today we will be talking about Shakespeare.
Ishan, I don't know where you're getting all your funky business from, all these conspiracy theories, but I think you just need to take a break from the internet, honestly, because there is no way that Shakespeare just didn't exist, and I think you're pulling my leg, and I think you're dumb and stupid.
Uh, but that's how I thought. that's that's how I thought before I saw this thingy. But you're gonna see what I saw, okay? Alexander Watt and Sir Jonathan Bay had a debate on this topic. Watt mentioned how the Supreme Court, aka the highest or one of the highest positions in a job that is to analyze evidence, says that they cannot confirm whether Shakespeare is real or not. It's the Supreme Court can't even say
I
if Shakespeare is real.
I think we're paying the Supreme Court too much. Let's defund.
No, no,
Let's defund
I
the
don't think you
Supreme Court.
can say that, man. Okay.
Let's defund the.
Secondly, everyone at the time was saying Shakespeare was a pseudonym, along with other people and writings on Shakespeare at the time, strongly suggesting that Shakespeare was a pseudonym.
Ishan, where the hell did you find people from that time? Do you have the
No,
ability to travel back
we
in the
have
past?
the ability to look at what people
Ishan,
wrote at the.
Are you a witch?
Shakespeare was said to be illiterate. Some say he went to a grammar school, but none of the other members of his family can read or write or have gone to school, leaving some to speculate he didn't either.
I mean, it seems hard to believe that someone illiterate is able to write such incredible literature. But then you remember that I exist, and suddenly it doesn't seem that implausible anymore. So,
I don't I don't
shut up,
think that's
Ishan.
what.
Let's go on. You're stupid. And
Also, all of his signatures were said to be spelt different and by different hands. So these are his signatures. What do you think about it? They're all spelt differently. They're all look different, except for that they're messy.
I'm starting to doubt that this guy knew how to, you know, spell.
Wait, let me zoom in for you. Look at that. Those are all different. They're all spelt differently too. Like this is Shakespeare and this is just. Is that a B? Christopher Marlowe was a playwright during the late 1500s. He was said to have been Shakespeare and used the pseudonym to escape law due to pointing out every single inconsistency in the Bible, considered a blasphemous act.
How dare he? He should be put to death immediately, hung, drawn, and quartered.
I don't think you can say that.
Shut up, you, Sean. We're gonna
No!
hang, drawn, and quarter you as well.
He also faked his own death to make sure that he wouldn't get caught.
Criminal master sounds like a criminal mastermind, Eshawn. I don't know if it can be trusted.
Just days after his death, Shakespeare's first works had sold. It was also said that they were in similar classes and they were born only 2 months apart. It's also been said that they had similar works and Marlowe was educated, unlike Shakespeare. It was said that his plays were given to his friends and to be published under the name Shakespeare. He had even hired someone to act as Shakespeare. It was also worth mentioning some books look like they were in collaboration with Marlowe or even by Marlowe. But despite all this, there's no sign of Marlowe. actually being Shakespeare and no confirmation that he fakes his death.
That's wiggity wacky.
Suspect 2, Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford. This theory is presented by Alexander Watt. But first, let's see why this suspect might be the real Shakespeare. Things about the royal family in Shakespeare's plays are things Edward de Vere could have known because of his proximity to the royal family. And like Marlowe, he did have an education, or a rather high level of education. De Vere was also said to have used pseudonyms in the past, despite owning his own acting company. Watt suggests that Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, is actually the one who wrote Shakespeare's works, but he backs this up by showing us some evidence in his own Shakespeare sonnets, or rather, the covers of Shakespeare sonnets.
I still find it hard to believe that an author as renowned as Shakespeare could have been a fake all along. So you're gonna have to come up with something snazzier than that.
All right, let me show you the whole system. I got what? You got another 6 pages ahead of you.
Alright.
Deciphering early encryptions tracing hidden geometries and decoding grid patterns, Watt tries to prove that Edward de Vere was Shakespeare. He has also found out that de Vere, or Shakespeare, was actually buried in Westminster's Abbey, contrary to popular belief of him being buried in Stratford upon Avon. And it was buried under the, well, you will see. If Watt is true, he may have just cracked the code of Shakespeare. I'll walk you through this. It starts at Shakespeare's supposed grave at Stratford. There's a wall plaque showing many mistakes, and if you take out those mistakes, it reads, "In this monument, read if thou hast, get whom Avius death hath placed with Shakespeare." A riddle meaning, who is Shakespeare buried with? Now, I would like to give credit to Watt, because even if this was just a bunch of coincidences, it's pretty cool. So, let's continue. On the top, in Latin, it says, "The earth covers Peleus with his judgment, Socrates with his genius, and Maro or with his art, or known as Virgil today." And obviously, he's not going to be buried with them. So who is he buried with?
I'm befuddled, Sean.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So you see this?
Yes.
So this is the earth covers, and this is the judgment of Pilium, the genius of Socrates, and the art of Maro. So that's pretty cool, in my opinion.
Huh.
So that's who he's buried with, but let's see what it actually means. Edmund Spenser, often described as the English Virgil, is buried in Poets' Corner, Westminster Abbey. Geoffrey Chaucer is often described as having the geniuses of Socrates buried right next to Spenser. And finally, Francis Beaumont, described as having the judgment of Pillage, was also buried right next to Chaucer. So now we know he's buried with those 3. Now, to understand what he does next, we have to give a brief description and explanation. I encourage all to go to the video, and I will put it in the description. But essentially, to sum it up, everything comes in threes, or 3 T's in some cases, which means God, because 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9. And 9 gives you the symbol